Welcome back. Joining us on the show now is Jonathan Barratt. He's CIO at ETO Markets. Jonathan, hi. Thank you so much for joining in. A very happy 2026 to you. And the year started with newer all-time highs, especially in case of silver and copper. And then we've seen a good amount of profit taking in the last couple of days. Markets are all gung-ho about on what the balancing of the index would perhaps lead to. So from Bank of America to Citi to Goldman Sachs, almost everybody seems to be talking about the Bloomberg Commodity Index that is going to be rebalanced. You'll see fund reallocations happen yet again, and that perhaps has led to a profit taking. How are you reading the phenomena to begin with, and what's your sense of its impact on prices?
Manisha, and also Happy New Year to yourself. Look, I generally think when you look at the general commodities play, it is quite separate in terms of the precious metals are doing what they're doing, oil's doing what it's doing, and some of the base metals and or likes of iron ore are doing what they're doing. So I think each sector by itself certainly has its own plays. There is some balancing going around, and we get that. The precious metal complex has been, as we know, it's been a terrific trade. We've taken some profits off that at the moment. We feel that there is time for a little bit of a correction, should be quite volatile, but I don't think the trend is yet over for the precious metals. In fact, I think we'll get a bit of a clean out there and then the trend will resume. So I think that's one thing there. Look at oil, look at all the other base metals and the likes of iron ore, all separately. But everyone has a story there which will combine to keep the indexes relatively stable, if not moving higher.
What's your sense then going forward from here in sense of silver prices? Because we've done 84, we are holding around 75 or so. What is your near-term sense, and how would you look at the best case, worst case scenario for silver for this year?
I think silver still remains pretty good. I would like to see a correction. It's had a phenomenal return. There's no doubt about it, and people have got some great profits in there. I would like to see a bit of a clean out. I think the fundamental side is still quite positive. Silver still is in that short supply. I think the trend is still your friend on this one, but I would like to see a decent correction. If I can get it back a little bit lower, back to that 70s, mid-70s, 72, 72 and a half, which it can do overnight because we know it's all extremely volatile, then I'll have a look at it. I won't be buying. I won't be buying on a pullback. I'll be waiting until I see that confirmation of that low in place. But I think the trend for silver is still there. There is nothing to tell us anything different, that the trend has changed. We still have a supply deficit in that market, and that's not going to change overnight.
So, Jonathan, you were saying that after this profit taken and after we've seen an index rebalancing happen, it's time to buy those dips yet again. 72 on a silver is what your support is. On the higher side, what is your... Are you looking at new highs for this year?
Yes, I think so. I mean, look, we've got to get through 82.50 naturally. We are seeing that volatility, as we know. There's no reason why it can't get to US $100, given the current supply we're looking at. And also, mind you, I think everyone has to be wary that we've got a very dovish tone coming out of China. Very supportive of cutting rates, lowering rates. And that's, in my mind, will start to really support a lot of the commodities, but in particular, play a lot of support there for the silver market.
And what about gold? Because that really seems to be holding better than various other commodities.
Yeah. Look, I think I'd like to see gold just be very steady. I don't want to see drastic moves. The central banks have pulled back a little bit because of where we are. But I don't think that's going to change the scenarios. I think that obviously silver is the one is seeing the volatility. With gold, I think it's just a steady grind higher, and I think that'll continue. There's nothing yet to change our views on what we think. The macros are still there, particularly whilst we've got the Trump administration in power. And I think that to be guided by anything there, but I think we've still got a macro picture which will support the price of gold.
And then are you looking at $4,800, $5,000 an ounce? What's your sense?
I think when we look at it, I think 4,800, we're $350 away from it. We know it can get very quickly to those levels. I do want to see a pullback. Remember, I'm still waiting for a bit of a pullback. We've had a phenomenal move towards the close of 2025. I'd like to see a little bit of consolidation to support that. The movements over the last 48 hours have indicated that perhaps we're at an intermediate high here. So just looking for a bit of a clean out and then for us to reiterate the reasons why we like gold and the reasons why we like silver.
All right. We've seen an all-time high in case of copper as well. Aluminum has seen a 3-year highs too, and there's some profit taking across board. Would you say this is just healthy correction coming in because all of these commodities actually gained, closed in last year, started this new year basically without any correction?
Yeah. Look, I think when you look at copper, we do know that there's still that deficit there. I do get a sense, and also in aluminium, we know where we're going. We know that aluminium in itself, we've got reasonable supply there. But once again, it's that story which we're seeing out of China in terms of really trying to promote that economy. PBOC's coming out there, being quite vocal about what it wants to do in terms of interest rates, the cutting ratios to really support the liquidity into the market, and I think that's going to support those base metals. Yeah, copper we know went to record high. It's come back here. A little bit of consolidating. The story's still good there, and I think China's really pushing the green vote, the green economy along, and pushing that does come with the side effect of demand for copper. So I think that trend will remain with us.
Okay, all right. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us with your insights on what's happening in metals and other aspects of the market as well. Thank you so much, Manisha, for taking us through that conversation.